So I'm going to talk a little bit today about, well, a few different things. Artificial intelligence is kind of on a lot of people's minds, and so is prophecy, and so is, well, a lot of different crazy things. The reason I want to speak a little bit about on these topics is because, well, prophecy is kind of loosely based off of Simpsons episodes and Futurama and American Dad and Family Guy and blah blah blah, yada yada. You think that the future of the world is based loosely off of a Simpsons episode or can occur based from a prophecy of a Simpsons episode, then my friends, you have more problems than the Simpsons to worry about, because you're believing the programmed lies from the elite, because they wrote the daggum show and they approved it to go on television. The writers that work for them are also in their pocket. So anything that comes from them, the elite or whatever, you can almost guarantee it will masquerade itself as prophecy and parade itself around as truth when it is nothing but false. So, yeah, there might be certain things that correlate and coincide with prophecy in the Bible, that coincide with things that are speculated to happen. The same with Donald Trump and his supposed presidency and rise to his presidency is prophesied from the late 80s or from the early 80s or whatever decade you want to throw at it. The murals at Denver International Airport are also one of those things that speak to prophecy of Trump's presidency, but all of those things occurred in our nature after Trump started mentioning, hey, maybe I should run for president back in the 80s. Okay, so it's not real prophecy, folks, okay? It's not real. The reason I say that it's not real prophecy is because it's just propaganda. It's been put there, programmed into your mind by the educational system, by the ad source companies, and by TV shows and other things that occur in nature that you think are real and you think are prophetic things that occur. Real prophecy, okay, you can avoid. Real prophecy is a warning. You can avoid the occurrence of what happens on the prophetic word itself. You can avoid it because it is a warning, not a guaranteed happening, okay? Now, I know that there are some things that have been said by certain folks in olden days that can be counted as prophecy or whatever, like Nostradamus had lots of prophecy, okay, because he was a very intelligent person, and he had all these quatrains of different prophecy that things would happen and blah blah blah, and they had happened or they occurred or whatever. You know, some people could have been acting upon these quatrains to make themselves part of the prophecy and make it occur, and it occurred 100 or so years after he written the prophecy or whatever, or had prophesied about its eventual happening. Doesn't mean it wasn't planned to occur, because some people could have known of the prophecy beforehand and then had a first-hand implementation of acting out that prophecy when the said date occurs. It's, yeah, okay, it's a little skeptical, but at the same time, if you believe the realm of prophecy, then you'll understand what I'm about to say. God's prophets are different, okay? The prophets of religion or spirituality are different, whether they're God's prophets or Buddhist prophets or whatever. They are different because they don't speak directly to occurrences that will happen on a certain date. They speak to things that will occur once these certain events transpire, because they know, like everyone else, that things have a resonant frequency. And they also know that certain things have a resonant vibration that will occur at a peak and a valley. So that means at a frequency of the resonance where it reaches its height, and a frequency of resonance where it reaches its low. And at both points in the frequency dilation do we witness these reverberations throughout time. Now, we can see this as occurring maybe to the fact, or to the effect, I should say rather, of, reincarnation, or the seemingly reincarnate status of certain movie stars that have a uncanny resemblance to someone who's 300 or 400 years in the past. doesn't make these people immortals. Okay? It just makes them, they happen to look exactly like this person. Now, this also ties to its genetic anomaly, okay, that anyone who's ever been here on the earth has always been here and always will be. That means every genetic iteration of your genetic line has always existed and has existed before. That means that someone as famous as you may have existed in the past as well as right now and looked exactly the way you do because of the genetic makeup that made you who you are, also made made them who they are. There we go. So the iterations of the algorithms for each occurrence of a person occurring at that same exact appearance will repeat over a cycle of time. Now that's because genetic diversity is not perfect and it's not an exact science, but it is a replicate of itself. There are things that will replicate over a period of times, especially if you have enough inbreeding in your family or if you don't go outside of your race that often. There is a good chance of repetition in appearance to occur down the line for you to look like someone else in your family or to look like someone else entirely from the past. It's very possible. There's only a realm of existence that's possible for that to occur, maybe 1 in 100 million or 200 million times. Maybe not even that high. I'd say maybe 100,000 to 200,000 or a million times. I would say 100 million at the most and 200,000 times at the least. Why do I say that? Was because, well, look at the amount of people on the planet today. Okay? And look at the amount of people that were on the planet, population, speculative population, or populace of the world, 240 years ago. And then go back 1,000 years. And then go back 1,000 more years. You'll see the growth and gradual increase of human populace on our planet exponentially. At a certain point, it just booms and explodes, population. Now, before that, you reach the point where there's a threshold that can be maintained, where everything can be shared and exist and coexist for millions of years without there being any problem. And that is the prime number of populace on our planet, which is around 500 million. Now, if you go beyond that, it's an explosion of population, which is currently what we're experiencing. And the reason that we're experiencing that in such a way, in such a manner, and that it's such a bad thing is because the Illuminati, the elites are power-hungry control freaks. They are the ones that want the population down to a certain number because that can make the most of their useful utilitarian abilities and the most use of their stuff that's left over, so that no one runs out of food or water or money. Okay. Just that simple. And they're even stocking up on heirloom seeds and everything so that when they are through poisoning the rest of us, when we all die out from starvation and stupidity and just complete ignorance for letting this occur, then they can, destroy the world, let it heal, and then replant all new grains and foods and vegetables and trees and whatever, bring everything back the way it was before we were ever involved, thus creating the new perfect world and the new poison-free food, because everything on the surface has died off and had been dead for, hundreds of years. So I'm still sorry to say that the metallic nature of the human waste, or the poisons or noxious chemicals that are in human waste that will be left in the soil and water table, will still exist after they surface. So they're not without peril. So nobody wins in this game of mouse and cat. We should say rather that the best way to get out of this situation, to become a empowerment is a very important thing. To become an empowered individual, I should say. To become an empowered individual, is the most important thing. And the way you do that is through knowledge. And the way you become an empowered individual, there we are, in the modern terminology of things to come, is to understand that you and you alone have the power to stop what's coming. All of us do. And to think that any of you are at risk of losing everything you've ever known or loved or come to know and love is because you're allowing it to happen. It's just that simple. I don't want to seem that pessimistic, but it's true. If you don't want it to occur, then you kind of got to get up and do something about it. Okay, you have to. You can't let this occur if you don't want it to. Okay, you have to get up and do something about it. Get up, stand up. You know what I mean? That Bob Marley song, stand up for your rights. You've got to. And we can't give up the fight because we're fighting the good fight. A force for good is always going to be needed, and a force for evil is always going to be there. So, what we can do for a while is try to outsmart it, and then we can move on from that and maybe have a better life. Maybe. But we have to own it and own up to our crap instead of sweeping it under the rug and pretending it isn't there. Because it's not useful. What's useful is shouldering your burden properly, okay? Understanding who you are and what you stand for and what you wish to acquire throughout this dangerous mission we call life. What you think should be done and how you think it should be done, with the only goal being to love others as you love yourself and to hate no one. When you do things like that, then you are acting on the will of God, or acting on the will of the creation, I should say. But, it's up to us. So, yeah, that's pretty much it. It's up to us.